Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining MacMall for today's webinar, Unleash Your Creative Potential with Apple. My name is Claude, and I'll be your host and moderator for today. So I just wanted to cover a few quick housekeeping issues. First off, we will be recording this presentation, and we will be sending out an on-demand version to everyone. So if you have to drop off the call for any reason, you will be able to listen to the rest of the presentation. At the end of today's presentation, we will be conducting a live question and answer session. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, use the question and answer or chat pane that can be found on the right-hand side of your screen. You can send a question straight to me, and they'll be addressed during the question and answer session. By the way, if anybody is having any technical difficulty or audio issues, just dial in using the toll-free number. All right, now I would like to introduce our presenter, Joe Schubach. He is an Apple systems engineer. Now, without any further delay, I would like to turn today's presentation over to Joe. Joe?
Hey there. Thank you. Would you please make me the presenter, please?
Yes, sorry.
So I can.
Yeah.
No worries. Thanks. Hopefully, all right. Let me go ahead and share my keynote here. All right. And you should now see the intro slide saying Unleash Your Creative Potential with Apple. Is that correct? Does everybody see that?
Yes, I see it now.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for dialing in today. Let's think here. So PTM approached me at Apple and asked if I would be willing to speak to the creative community about what is new with Apple in the creative space. And I couldn't think of a more apropos topic to speak about than the new Mac Pro. It's making quite a few waves in the creative community. And I put together a presentation today that looks at the hardware mainly and the capacity for the hardware to perform in the creative space. And I want to start off by talking about just basically how the hardware is put together and what it means to your workflow. And we need to be also cognizant about exactly what we need to consider when it comes to deploying Mac Pros, the new Mac Pro in place of the old Mac Pro or another computer for that matter, because the form factor is vastly different and there are new considerations. So let's take a look here. So this is the computer. This is it. You probably have all seen it. It's been likened to a thermos. It's a small computer compared to its predecessor, incredibly fast, and it's cutting edge. And it's in the tradition of the Cube, if you'll remember the Cube back in the day, and even the Mac Mini. We've taken a lot of the thermodynamics of the old computers, and we've put them into the new hardware. So it's a very small form factor, and there are no PCIe expansion slots, you'll notice, right? What we're looking at here is a view from the bottom of the computer. You'll see that in the middle there's a heat sink, and against it are all the boards. There are 4 boards in all, one having the GPUs, 2 of them having GPUs, one having memory, and one having the processor itself. And all the convection, the air flows up through that heat sink, and it's also sucked out via a very quiet fan. And all these things are important in considerations, and we'll get into why that is in a bit, but this is a device that is made perfectly for the professional creative person. It's a workspace, I should say. So this is the old form factor. You'll recall the old Mac Pro. It was a beautiful machine. There's no doubt about it. And the new machine is 1/8 the volume of the last generation of Mac Pro, and it's 1/4 the weight. So if you can imagine, it's a very compact little computer. Can fit under the desk, can fit on the desk. It's a beautiful piece of hardware, and it's made to be out of the way. So let's think about some of the technology here. We're looking, if you take off the sleeve on the outside of the Mac Pro, you're looking at the 2 GPUs here, and I'm showing you this because the Mac Pro is a user accessible device. You can take off the cover and you can modify the inner workings of the Mac Pro. So contrary to some of our other computers that we have out right now, we've made this a professional unit. We expect you to be able to open it up and do what you need to do on the inside. Let's take a look at the actual hardware inside the computer. So if we look at the processor, we've included Ivy Bridge processors this time, and you can go from 4-core up to 12. And interesting thing about this processor is it has PCI Express coming right off the processor. So you have 40 lanes of PCIe Gen 3, which, and I don't want to make this a speeds and feeds sort of conversation. What this means to you is that this is an insanely fast computer, okay? And the I/O to the processor is insanely fast, right? So what you're used to with Final Cut Pro and with the rest of your in Logic and et cetera, the rest of your multimedia softwares is performance that is adequate. This is going to devastate the last generation. Your expectations are going to be met and then some. And it's going to let you graduate to the next generation of technology, such as 4K and 5K video. Moving on, we chose the fastest RAM out there. It's the fastest RAM we've ever shipped. 60 gigabytes of per second of memory bandwidth. So you can launch every app on your computer and run them simultaneously and have no performance hit. You know, it's just incredible the amount of memory that we have here and how fast that memory is. And it is user accessible. So on some of our consumer level computers, you can't upgrade the RAM after the fact. That is not the case with the Mac Pro. You can access those DIMMs and upgrade them if you find that you need additional memory down the way. All right, and then in terms of the actual hard drive storage, if you will, we've replaced the hard drive, traditional hard drive, with flash, and it is PCIe, so it is extremely fast, as you can see there, 1.2 gigabytes per second reads and 1 gig per second writes. This is important, especially if you're actually using the internal drive for productivity. If you're not, then and most people won't be, you know. 1 terabyte is a large amount of drive space. Don't get me wrong, but if you're doing anything besides still photographs, and even then, still, you know, the 1 terabyte may not suffice. Point being, you're going to be using external storage, and this is something to consider. This is a small amount of internal storage, and it is expected that most people that are in the professional creative space are going to go out and purchase external drives, be those Thunderbolt, be they, I should say, USB 3. All right, and it is user accessible. So if you ever wanted to pull out the memory of this, I shouldn't say that. If you want to pull out the storage, the hard drive storage, the internal hard drive storage, off of the motherboard, all you have to do is take the case off, and you can pull a screw, and then you have the hard drive, if you will, in your hand. That's where the operating system is going to live and some of your files. And then you can migrate that over to another Mac Pro if you ever need to for any reason, or access the data on there for any other reason, you know, external of the Mac Pro itself. Pretty neat. That was a much requested feature that we included. All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, and then of course, most of you are going to be familiar with Thunderbolt, and it traditionally has had 10 gigabits per second throughput. And this time what we've done is we've replaced it with Thunderbolt 2 on the Mac Pro. And what that allows you to do is to multiplex, if you will, to take two of your Thunderbolt's 2 10 gig channels and bond them together into 20 gigabits per second. I think multiplex was the wrong word there. Anyway, so we have 6 devices per port in all. So you can have a total of 36 devices chained off of the Mac Pro. And it is backwards compatible for any older Thunderbolt devices. So these are things to consider, and I bring this up because you're going to be using Thunderbolt if you use PCIe cards. So if you have some legacy PCIe cards and you don't want to replace them, for instance, a fiber channel card or some video card, you're going to want to purchase, separate from the Mac Pro, an external PCIe cage that connects to the Mac Pro via Thunderbolt. Okay, that will allow you to use your legacy cards. And then, of course, you know, Thunderbolt is, especially now that the Mac Pro has been introduced to the public, Thunderbolt's really taking off. We're seeing a lot more peripherals being offered out there at this point. You may end up ditching those cards if they're older and they don't perform to your specs. You might replace them with a device that's an actual native Thunderbolt device that will provide you the same or better functionality than PCIe cards would. Okay, something to consider. Moving on. All right, now the GPUs, these are the graphics processors. These are important. If you'll remember on the first diagram, two of those big cards on each side of the square on the inside of the Mac Pro, those are graphics processors. And the numbers here may mean something to you, they may not, but long story short is that traditionally computers have relied on the CPU for computing power, but GPUs have become much more powerful, and software developers have started to offload their code to being processed on the GPUs as opposed to just the CPU, right? So if you look at all of Apple's applications, they've been optimized. They leverage heavily the GPUs, and so if you're working in a pure native Apple environment, you're going to find incredible performance. And then if you're using, say, a third-party software, you may want to contact the manufacturer of that software and find out if they leveraged the Mac Pro's technology wholly in their development such that they're using the GPUs. The word's out there, developers know it, and many apps have been rewritten already. So anyway, yeah, there are two GPUs in here, 7 teraflops of performance, and I bring that up because it's gonna, if you work on very high-end video requiring 3D or 4K, 5K video with real-time effects, you have that potential here. You have that capability now. It's incredible what this Mac Pro delivers compared to, well, any other computer, but especially the previous generation of Mac Pro. Things have definitely changed. It's incredible. All right, and then lastly, like I mentioned, you can connect up to 3 4K displays and still get that real-time rendering. So it's incredibly powerful. And also, in addition to having those 4K displays, you can also have an HDMI 1.4 TV, right? 4K TV external at the same time. And as always, automatically configured. You don't have to, install drivers or screw around. It's auto-detected by the Mac Pro, and there you have your video. Okay, so that was a look at the hardware. Let's take a little bit more of an in-depth overview of the hardware. So, a nice little statistic that I like to throw out there is that if you have those 4K displays out there, you're driving nearly 25 million pixels from the desktop. It's incredible, right? And just imagine that, 25 million pixels are being driven simultaneously by this little computer. I mean, hopefully that gives you some perspective on just how powerful this computer is. Taking a look at the inside again, these are the two GPU panels, and then next, if we turn it on the side here, this is where that storage is. If you'll see the bar sort of in the middle, there's a screw on the top. If you take that screw out, this is your hard drive. You take out the screw, you pop this guy off, and you can put it into an external reader. You can put it into another Mac Pro, put it into another computer, and you're off and running. Okay, and then this is the back of the, if you will, if there is a back, the front and the back of the Mac Pro. And the things I want to point out here, most of this stuff you would expect to see, USB 3 audio input and that, what have you. But what you should note are the 6 Thunderbolt ports, right? And those can be bridged, as I was mentioning, to make it Thunderbolt 2, if you will. And then let's see here. In addition, you have, of course, your Ethernet, your power, et cetera, your HDMI output. We talked about that, HDMI 1.4. And then a motion sensor. The motion sensor is kind of cool in that if you just jiggle this guy the slightest bit or twist it, and your hand comes near it, the lights come on, and you can see exactly where the ports are. This is really important if you're in a professional, if you're in a workspace and it's dark. You just put your hand near this guy, and lo and behold, you can see what you're trying to do. It's a really handy little feature. And on top of all of this, I mean, if you haven't been astounded just by how well thought out this machine has been in terms of the creative workspace, let's take a look at some practical considerations, be more so practical. At idle, this machine is incredibly energy efficient, taking up 43 watts of power compared to the previous gen. And what's also really important for anybody that's in audio or video is the audio levels. Take a look here. We're at 12 decibels versus 27 at the last rev. And then compare. I mean, if you have a Mac Mini, most of us have been around a Mac Mini. It's the same sound footprint, if you will, as a Mac Mini. Incredibly quiet, and can't tell you how important that is. I imagine in the professional creative workspace. thanks to thermodynamics, right? So there she is. So that's a good look at the hardware and how it's going to affect your workspace and your workflow. Let's take a look at some video customers. First of all, let's see what they had to say. So we doled these out to a handful of professionals while we were in pre-production with the Mac Pro. We got some feedback from them. So Dean Devlin, the filmmaker of Independence Day, The Patriot Leverage, you might know of Dean. He had this to say: the Mac Pro makes real-time 4K editing a reality. It's more powerful than I ever imagined, and it will change the way I make movies. And I think that goes for everybody. You know, the fact that you can real-time edit 4K is incredible. Let's take a look here at the next person that we gave one to. Lucas Gilman, photographer for Sports Illustrated, National Geographic. He had this to say: the new Mac Pro cuts my editing time exponentially, giving me more time in the field shooting, which is where I need to be. And you know, isn't that what it's all about? You know, the fact that this machine is so fast. I mean, if you choose not to go to, let's switch back to video just for the sake of the conversation. You know, if you choose to not go to 4K and you're dealing with standard, you know, 1080i, etc., or P, think about how fast your video is going to be rendered. Think of how much time is being freed up. It's incredible, right? So the processing is going to give you a lot more free time in your day. Same thing for audio, same thing for still imagery. And then last but not least, we have Stuart Price, the producer of Lady Gaga, Madonna, Killers, very famous music producer. He had to say, the new Mac Pro is blazing fast, shockingly quiet. You have to not hear it to believe it. This is the perfect computer for the recording studio. And that sort of resonates with what I was saying earlier. You know, the machine is just so incredibly quiet. 12 decibels. It's just the perfect machine for the creative environment. All right, so let's take a look at some numbers. There may be some people on the phone that are oriented to numbers. We did some benchmarking, and we benchmarked our old computers, like the last Mac Pro, the 12-core, the last one we produced. It was a 2.7 gig unit with a terabyte flash storage, AMD FirePro D700 graphics. I'm sorry, that was the pre-production unit. I'm sorry. And then the older unit was a 12-core as well. From the it was a 3.06 gig unit with 512 gig SSD, and we used to have the ATI Radeon HD 5870. So if there are any nerds in the room, that was the 12-core that we used to ship, and we pulled out our 12-core 2.7. Which in pre-production, and we did some benchmarking, and you can see it's 4 times faster for color correction in 4K. 4K, you know, I'll let you read this yourself, but talk about time savings, right? This is just so incredibly fast, and it gives you a perspective on just how fast this machine is. It's incredible, and it's cutting edge, and it's a very relevant machine, and it will be relevant for quite a while until the next gen comes out, I'm sure. And then if we take the same computers, right, this is the old 12-core 3.06 gig unit versus our new 12-core 2.7. We have our multicam angles, and just incredible how fast the machine is with simultaneous streams. We have a DaVinci Resolve and 10 performance chart here, and this is times greater frames per second, right? So 6 times faster, and then 3 times faster. Just incredible for blur. Neat. And then if you're dealing with 3D applications, we have incredible, quite a leap here with CompuBench graphics. With we have an 8.4 times speed, and then we have a couple of others here. And then Aperture, if you're importing content, you do it 1.9 times faster. If you're exporting a TIFF, then 1.5 times faster. It's quite quick, you know, twice the speed. And then lastly, we have a Pixelmator and Zoom to Fit, and these are effects that we're applying, and you'll see the performance is quite astounding. It's going to give you back time of your day, and I think that's the thing to take away here, is that you're going to be freed up with stills. So. All right. So, and lastly, this is important, very important to the government. It's very important to many people. The fact is that we assemble every Mac Pro in the United States. We assemble them here in Austin, Texas. We assemble them in Kentucky, Illinois, Florida. We have plants out there where we manufacture them, and there's a really neat video online. If you go to YouTube, you can search for Mac Pro manufacturing, and you can see how the new Mac Pro is being manufactured with extruded aluminum in the warehouse, and how it's being formed and then polished and then painted. It's gorgeous. It really is. It's a really neat manufacturing facility. I think Steve Jobs would be very proud if he saw the final product. All right. So there we go. So it's brand new. It's unlike anything we've ever manufactured before, and we can't wait to see what our customers can create with it. And so with that, a very short presentation for you today. I wish I had more for you. That's the most creative information I have. I think I'd like to open it up to some Q&A.
So we're opening it up for some Q&A. Anybody who has any questions regarding today's session, you can just send it up to us via the question and answer pane. All right. Let's wait a couple more minutes. Yeah, somebody said yes. So we're waiting for the specific question. Oh, okay. He just said great presentation.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Lovely.
All right, let's see. Yeah, I guess nobody has any questions.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
okay. I think this question is for us. Will this be available to view later? Yes, it will be available. Maybe wait 2-3 days for the link to the online video. All right. Okay. I guess nobody has any questions. Joe, you want to close it up?
All right. Well, thank you so much for dialing in today, everybody. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. My contact information, if you need to email me, is Zorak. It's a Z as in zebra, O-R-A-K as in kilo, @apple.com. Zorak@apple.com. And I'm happy to help you with any questions you have. Thank you so much for dialing in today.
Thank you. So that's about the time that we have. Should you have additional questions, again, you can email Joe directly. You can send him an offline message, and he'll address it. And if ever you have any additional questions, yeah, you can send it to us, and we will address it via the on-demand email, along with the video link. All right. I would like to thank Joe, and thank you all for taking the time to join us today. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Joe.